You made it, living environment friends and fans. You've made it to the midterm exam. This is part one of a 2-day exam. So we'll do part one today, part two tomorrow. And since I'm using Edpuzzle, you'll get your grades back fairly quickly. And if you need to redo one of the parts or both, you can do that easily. All right, but shall we begin? You know the drill. Some of these questions are multiple choice, some are constructive response. Let's start with question number one. Scientific claims should be questioned if A, the data are based on samples that are very large, B, the conclusions follow logically from the evidence, C, peer review was used to examine the claims made by scientists, or D, the experimental results cannot be repeated by other scientists. Look at number two. Look at all this information. Whoa, go back to number two. Look at all this information here. Number two, a student read that the liquid extracted from an aloe vera plant promotes the healing of burned tissue. She decided to investigate the effect of different concentrations of aloe vera on the regeneration or regrowth of damaged tissue of planaria. Planaria are small flatworms known for their ability to regenerate. The student used a sterile scalpel to cut each of 30 planaria in half. This gave her 10 heads and 10 tails for each of the three experimental groups. The planaria were kept in separate petri dishes in the same amount of water and at the same temperature. Group 1 received 0 aloe vera extract. Group 2 received 20% concentration of the extract. Group 3 received 40% concentration of the extract. On days 7, 10, and 14, she recorded the amount of tissue regeneration for all three groups. She observed that the group with 20% aloe vera regenerated more slowly than the group with 40% added. A reasonable inference based on these results would be that A, the control group, which received no aloe vera, did not regenerate. B, aloe vera affected the rate of cell division, resulting in an increased rate of regeneration. C, the application of aloe vera to earthworms would have no effect on tissue regeneration. D, if she applied 30% aloe vera to a group, it would regenerate tissue more rapidly than the 40% group. Now we're on to number three. Oh, look at a graph. A live plant was placed in a closed container in the lab. Sensors were set up to monitor the levels of oxygen in the container over several hours. The data recorded in the graph below. See the graph? According to the graph, at which hour were the lights turned on? Is it A, hour 8, B, hour 2, C, hour 0, or D, hour 4? Number 4. On a hot day, dogs sweat through their paw pads and pant, which helps keep them cool. Both the sweating and the panting are A, due to a lack of adaptation to the environment, B, a response to a stimulus, C, due to a loss of oxygen, or D, a failure of cellular communication. Number 5, 6 alive. Here we are. Which one of the following statements best describes the interactions between the structures found within a single-celled organism? A, they prevent homeostasis from damaging the cell. B, they carry out the same life processes in order to maintain homeostasis. C, they must act independently of each other and prevent homeostasis. D, they allow the organism to maintain homeostasis. Number 6. Levels of organization in humans are represented below. Cells, X, organs, organ system, organism. Level X most likely represents A, tissues, B, organelles, C, molecules, D, ribosomes. All right, this is a constructed response, and that you have to write out your answer. 7, in the cell below, identify both the number and the name of the structure in the cell that produces proteins. Number 8, another written response. Today, many diseases have been linked to mutations that cause mitochondria to fail. Patients who suffer from mitochondrial diseases may suffer from fatigue and weakness. Explain why patients with a mitochondrial disease would tend to experience these symptoms. Number 9. Organisms living in a forest ecosystem rely on the sun as a source of energy for metabolic processes. The following events occur as energy is captured by a plant and used in the metabolic processes of an herbivore. And the four processes are: A, energy is released from chemical bonds, energy is stored in large organic molecules, energy is transferred to the molecules of ATP, energy is absorbed by plant cells. The most likely order in which these events occur is: choice A is D, then B, then A, then C. Choice B is D, then A, then B, then C. Choice C is B, then A, then C, then D. And choice D is A, then D, then B, then C. Friends, enzymes. Number 10, the graph below represents the rate of a chemical reaction involving a particular human enzyme that breaks down starch. Right? The most likely reason the action of the enzyme decreases after 40 degrees Celsius is that A, the DNA in the enzyme mutates and can no longer break down the starch. B, as the temperature of the enzymes rises, the pH of the environment changes, deactivating the enzyme. C, the shape of the enzyme changes due to environmental conditions. Or D, enzymes die after working for a long period of constant activity in the body. Question 11. Changes in external temperatures often result in a person either sweating or shivering, represented in the diagram below. These responses are one way: A, to make the body release insulin to control blood circulation. B, skin and muscle cells are able to disrupt homeostasis. C, the body is able to maintain a dynamic equilibrium. Or D, to counteract feedback mechanisms that would otherwise be beneficial. Biological processes represented below. Question 12. The reason hormones affect the target cell and not the other cells is that the A, non-target cells produce antibodies and block the hormone. B, the hormone provides energy only for the target cell. C, target cell has specific receptors for that hormone. D, hormones can only leave the bloodstream near a target cell. Well, this is a great question. Number 13. Lucky number 13. Human cells have many molecules attached to their surfaces. Some of these molecules are involved in producing symptoms associated with allergies. Histamine is a chemical produced by some human cells. When histamine binds to molecules on the surface of cells that line the nose and throat, the cells will swell and leak fluid, causing the characteristic itching, sneezing, and congestion associated with allergies. A model of this mechanism is represented below. Antihistamines are medications taken to block this reaction. Which of the antihistamine molecules represented below would be the most effective? So is it shape A, shape B, shape C, or shape D? Oh, written response. Number 14, state one reason why a human heart muscle cell would probably contain a higher proportion of mitochondria than a skin cell. Question 15. The cells in this diagram are present in the same individual. These cells are most similar in A, the amount of energy they release, B, the rate of their metabolism, C, the type of proteins they synthesize, or D, the information stored in their DNA. Number 16. Information that scientists are able to obtain from fossil records includes A, confirmation that the Earth is 4.5 million years old. B, the exact means by which life on Earth began. C, data supporting the hypothesis that animal species do not change over time. Or D, evidence about past environments and the history of life. Number 17, the model below summarizes one pathway of energy transfer in an ocean ecosystem. Right, sun, organism X, organism Y with arrows pointing to them. The type of organism represented by box X could be A, algae, B, seabirds, C, fungi, D, small fish. A food web is represented below. Which one of the following organisms is correctly paired with its role in this ecosystem? A. The toads function as consumers and as autotrophs. B. The grasshoppers functions as consumers and as heterotrophs. C. The snakes are both consumers and herbivores. Or D. The grass is both a consumer and a decomposer. Number 19. Given the aquatic food web below, well, look at this food web. Look how many different overlapping food chains there are. Which one of the following statements best describes what would happen in this ecosystem if the phytoplankton, algae, were removed from the food web? A. The number of heterotrophs would increase. B. The food web would be disrupted and organisms would die. C. Copepods and krill would fill the vacant niche. Or D. The food web would remain very stable. Another food web, but this time with an energy pyramid. Number 20. The food web and energy pyramid are represented below. A group of organisms from the food web that would most likely be found at level X of the energy pyramid are the owls, trees, deer, or crickets. A, B, C, or D. 21. Which row in the chart correctly pairs a group of organisms with the type of nutrition they carry out? Is it row 1, carnivores carry out herbivores? I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Is it row 1, carnivores are autotrophs, herbivores are heterotrophs? Is it row 2, decomposers are autotrophs, carnivores are heterotrophs? Is it number 3, herbivores are autotrophs, carnivores are producers are heterotrophs? Or is it row 4, producers are autotrophs, decomposers are heterotrophs? A, B, C, D. Well, it's long. Humans are able to positively or negatively affect their environment in many ways. Which one of the following statements accurately describes one of these possible effects? A positive environmental effect is that burning fossil fuels to generate electricity reduces carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. B, a negative environmental effect is that industrialization provides many jobs and helps the economy grow. C, a negative environmental effect is that unregulated fishing in the ocean can disrupt the interactions between organisms in existing food webs. D, a positive environmental effect is that the cutting of trees and rainforests to provide large quantities of lumber to build homes for the increasing world population. '23. A student wondered if butterflies would show any differences in their wing color if, as caterpillars, they were grown in a dark or grown in a bright white light. Which of these following statements would be a possible hypothesis for an experiment to test this idea? Is it A, results show that caterpillars kept in the dark and those exposed to bright white light had the same wing color when they became butterflies? B, caterpillars exposed to bright white light will show more blue and green in their wings when they become butterflies than caterpillars kept in the dark. C, 10 caterpillars will be kept in the dark and 10 caterpillars will be exposed to bright white light and allowed to develop into butterflies. D, will caterpillars kept in the dark have brighter wings when they become butterflies than caterpillars exposed to bright white light? Well, look at this experiment here. In the early 1600s, a scientist planted a willow tree that weighed 5 pounds in 200 pounds of dry soil. He placed it outside and watered it for 5 years. At the end of the time, he observed that the tree had gained 164 pounds and 3 ounces, while the soil had just lost just 2 ounces. From this, he concluded that plants gain weight from the water they take in. His conclusion was based on A, the input of scientists from many countries doing similar studies. B, an extensive knowledge of the process of photosynthesis. C, the application of advanced technologies to study of the problem. Or D, careful observation, measurements, and inferences from his data. To study how bacteria respond to antibiotics, question 25, 4 paper discs, 3 treated with different antibiotics and 1 treated with water, were placed on a nutrient source with bacteria and left for 24 hours. The water and the antibiotics on the disc diffused into the nutrient source. If the antibiotic stopped the bacteria from growing, a circular area of no bacterial growth around the disc would be seen. In a given experiment, the purpose of using a disc treated with water is that it A, serves as a control for the experiment, B, serves as the conclusion for the experiment, C, is needed as a standard safety procedure, or D, is needed to provide additional moisture. Number 26, a student set up an experiment to test the effect of the number of seedlings planted in one pot on the rate of growth. All conditions in the experiment were the same except for the number of plants in each pot. The results are shown in this graph below. The dependent variable for this experiment was A, average plant growth, B, number of plants per pot, C, time in days, D, the amount of water added per pot. Number 27, a student designed an experiment to determine if air temperature had an effect on the rate of photosynthesis in corn plants. The independent variable in this experiment is the A, number of corn plants, B, volume of oxygen produced by the corn plants, C, amount of carbon dioxide used by the corn plants, or D, the air temperature at which these corn plants were grown. Number 28, a student designed an experiment to determine if air temperature had an effect on the rate of photosynthesis in corn plants. Which tool is correctly paired with a procedure that could be used during this experiment? A, a metric ruler is used to determine the mass of each plant each week. B, an electronic balance to measure the volume of soil which each corn plant is grown. C, a graduated cylinder to measure 30 milliliters of water for each plant daily. Or D, a Celsius thermometer to determine the pH of the soil. Number 29, a student observed 5 living cells in a field of view of a microscope represented below. The diameter of the field of view is 500 microns. What is the approximate diameter of one cell? Is it 10 microns, B, 50 microns, C, 250 microns, D, 500 microns? 30, an investigation was conducted to compare 2 different types of plants. A student used a microscope to observe the cells in a cross-section of lilac leaf, diagram A, and a cell from the leaf of a freshwater plant, diagram B. Which technique could be used to make the structures in the cells shown more visible when using a compound light microscope? Is it A, electrophoresis, B, gene manipulation, C, paper chromatography, or D, staining? Question 31. What do you know? The same investigation. The student used a microscope to observe the cells in a cross-section of a lilac leaf and a cell from a leaf of a freshwater plant. Which row in the chart correctly identifies the structure labeled in Y in both the given diagrams with the process it performs? All right, so is it A, row 1, mitochondria structure, its process is excretion. 2, the nucleus is the structure, the process is regulation. Is it C, row 3, chloroplast is the structure, photosynthesis is the process? Or is it D, row 4, ribosome is the structure, protein synthesis is its process? Question 32. Animals and green plants are similar in that they both use DNA to transmit hereditary information to their offspring. B, all produce offspring by asexual reproduction. C, all require oxygen to carry out photosynthesis. Or D, both carry out heterotrophic nutrition. And that, my friends, concludes part 1 of the test. I hope you had an enjoyable time. Just wait, the sequel comes out tomorrow, part 2. What is going to happen? I can't believe we left on a cliffhanger like this. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friends.